Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video looks at the intensity of rivalry as one of Porter's 5 forces. This is part of our analysis into the competitive environment, and we've had a look at each of these 4 aspects of the competitive environment. We're now looking at kind of the centre one, which is really the intensity of rivalry within the industry, how fiercely those firms are competing for customers and for market share. It's in the middle because to a certain extent it's dictated by each of these factors. The intensity of rivalry, for example, if there's very high barriers to entry, that can mean that there's very little incentive for those firms who are in the market to compete against each other too severely, because they know no one else is going to come in and steal their market share. So they don't want to start a price war with each other and start cutting into margin. So these factors around the outside all have a bearing on this, but it is actually unique to each market as well, and I'll try and give a couple of examples in a minute of similar market structures with different intensities of rivalry. So we could define the intensity of rivalry as the extent to which businesses compete with each other to attract customers. How hard are businesses actually trying to cut prices, offer better services, improve products in order to attract customers. Now I've got 2 markets here. I'm not quite sure of the dates of these that these were taken from. This one is 2017, 20th of May 2017, relatively recently to when I'm recording it, which is September 2017. This one I'm not so sure, but you can see that these, they've got roughly the same number of competitors in. The market shares that we're looking at, 27.2, 15.1, 14. We're looking at 20s, 15s, 18s, 12s in the gas and electricity market. This is the gas and electricity market, by the way, and this is the supermarket industry. Now, the intensity of rivalry within these industries is actually very different, despite the fact that they are quite similar structures, i.e. we would call them oligopolies, with large barriers to entry protecting a few big firms who dominate the market. Now, the gas and electricity market has actually been accused of there being some collusion between these businesses in terms of setting prices artificially high, not really trying that hard to compete with each other. It's actually very difficult to prove, but there's a suspicion that the gas and electricity market within the UK, the intensity of rivalry isn't actually that strong. The businesses are kind of quite happy to keep on making profit, not cutting prices against each other, so that they can continue to bring money in. Whereas the supermarket industry is fiercely competitive. And these businesses do compete very hard with each other to keep prices low, to satisfy consumers, introduce new services. And so this rivalry is very intense. The point is that I'm trying to make that the intensity of rivalry within each industry is unique to that industry and the behaviour of the firms within it. So what do we want to do in terms of our strategy? Well, we want to get to a point. It's actually much better for a business if it can be in a position where it's not competing too intensely, there's not too much rivalry. So what do we want to do with our strategy? We want to diversify into new areas where there aren't many competitors and create a USP. You might want to think about Apple when they brought out the iPad. I mean, that was an entirely new idea for a product. Okay, it wasn't quite a laptop, it wasn't or a computer, it wasn't a mobile phone. It was in a completely new area, and at that time there was no competitors. And over time, new people did come into that market. But the point was, when Apple went in there, they were diversifying into an area where there wasn't intense competition, and they could dominate that market. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to do plenty of research and development, lots of product development. We want to create a strong brand image so people trust us. In terms of finance, we're going to want to reinvest profits into new product and market development rather than giving our products out to shareholders. In terms of operations, maybe introducing some sort of mass customization. So we benefit from economies of scale and we benefit from size, but we're tailoring our product to each individual customer's needs. So our product becomes unique to that customer and there's less competition. And finally, in terms of HR, we're going to want to recruit and train staff to develop strong creativity and product development skills so they can help us move into these new areas, create this USP that we want to. Okay, and in terms of profits, I think I've forgotten to update this one as well. If we have, in terms of profits, if we're in a hugely in a very intensively competitive market, we're going to need to be spending money on advertising, we're going to need to be spending money on improving products, we're going to need to be spending money on basically attracting new customers. We might need to have to cut our prices, so we're going to be making less profit. When we move into a position where we're seen as unique, where there's not many competitors for us, that reduces our need to cut our costs, and we can increase our selling price, increasing our revenue and boosting our profits.